up, man? Thanks for having me on your podcast. I am like late as like Indians are late and black people are late, so like I multiply that together. Yeah, double late. But I appreciate you, man. I love your setup. This is cool.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Actually, let me close this over here a little bit. I like to close out the viewfinder so we do it live.
Yeah, well, because it's weird. Like, I don't like that you can see how you look instantly on photos. I think, like, it just fucks with your confidence. I love, like, even if you bomb a photo and it comes back on a Kodak, like, 3 weeks later, you're already past that moment. You're not like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you good at that point. It's like, fuck it.
But, like, there's nothing like thinking you look good and then the camera being like, nah, man. you don't be looking as cool as you think you be looking.
Like, damn, they get my right angle. I don't know. This one's crazy. I don't know. Like, they should have got my right side.
Exactly. It's like, I think about this. It's like, cameras are getting so good, they're giving people insecurities. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like you shouldn't have. I think cameras are eventually going to get so good that they're going to be able to tell you when you're going to die. Like, you're going to take a picture of somebody and you're like, oh, that nigga's going to die in like 4 years.
No shit. It's like Death Note or something like that, right? Where you just know when somebody's going to die. You're like, oh shit.
I mean, doctors have that's called an MRI. Like, you go in there, they're like, yo, you got like 6 months left, bro.
Like, damn, yo, only 6 months, yo, I ain't even get to do this and this yet.
Oh yeah, dude. By the way, thanks for that book. What was how to get the most? The premise was how to get the most out of your life.
Yeah, Die with Zero with from Bill Perkins. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really it made me feel better about the decisions I'd made in my life. I read that book and I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I feel good about the things I've chosen to spend my time on.
Right.
What about you? How did you feel? Did you feel affirmed or did you feel called out?
It was both, man. Like, when I read it, it was like just some of the stuff you was talking about, it just made it hard to like disagree with, because you just like, yo, like this part of your life is just things that you can only do in this part of your life. Like, so it was like both. Like, it was something where like already I was on a trajectory of doing things like, traveling Europe, doing this stuff or whatever, that it was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad it's affirming the things I'm doing now. If anything, it's pushing me more, being like, yo, let me actually push this more, because if I'm in my late 30s, early 40s, that's a different time in which I don't think I'll be. I mean, I may still be doing it, but like, I don't know what the fuck, may change or happen, or family, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and your age acts on people. Like, so like, you 39, like gallivanting through Europe, doing shows,
right.
has it. The weight of it sounds different. Like, it just is a different kind of weight. Whereas if you're 25, I think the sound different. And even in your mid 30s, it has a different sound to people than. That's why I said, like, whenever I did the hostels and stuff when I was in my early 20s, if I go back and try to do that now at an ex of mine who was in her early 20s, and she was like, let's travel Europe, let's backpack together. I was like, I'm out of that part of my life. Like, that, you should find somebody that you are peers with, because I think it would be more resonant with you.
Right.
Because you're discovering things together. Whereas with me, every trip I go on, it's the same basic premise. Work harder, bro. Like I'm not like learning anything new. It's just like, yo, like break through the next level, so like this can just be life.
Yeah, you're not exploring like, wow, what's going on? Oh my God. You're kind of like, yeah, that's what's up. All right, time to level up right now.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to just keep leveling up, because I feel like the more you level up, the more you're able to stay in that stasis of being able to do whatever the fuck you want for your whole life.
That's a fact, bro. That's a fact. You touched up on a good point about the hostels, right? Because that was something that when I went out to Europe, I was like, let me try a hostel thing. Let me do it for like a couple days and then go to Airbnb after. And bro, I did it. And when I was there, man, I just realized, I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more, yo. It was like a crazy moment where I was like, oh, I think I'm at the age now where I can't do hostels no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like what experience particularly like made you like,
the hostel I went to, it was like a nice one. I think I forgot the name of it, but like they have a whole bunch all over Europe and stuff. And I had like a big suitcase, which is problem number one. And for you to store it, you had to like take it downstairs into the basement because like the storage underneath the bed wasn't big enough for the suitcase. So I had to take it all the way downstairs, put it in there, come all the way back up. I had like a little small book bag. I had stuff in there, but then I forgot like some I don't know, I forgot boxers or something, so I had to go all the way back downstairs, go get that, come all the way back up. I think I forgot my code at one point. I had to pay. It was like all this friction. And I just needed my space. And then like someone new come in, hey, what's going on? Where you from? You gotta do that whole ring around again. Oh, you do comedy? Oh, yeah. And then it's like, just a constant.
Yep.
Yeah, and just not having your own space. Like I didn't realize that of like a prime point of thing that I need until that moment.
Yeah, like hostels are inconvenient, especially if you don't have a backpack set up.
Oh my god, bro.
Do you think it'd been different if you had a backpack?
I had a backpack, but I just had too much shit.
Or like what I'm saying, if you had like a backpacker's backpack, like
Okay, here's one that I know I probably can't do it again. I went to go take a shower, right? And like in this hostel, they had no ledge where you can put your soap or like your anything. So like I had to do some MacGyvering while I'm wet, right? Like just trying to fucking hang shit, but not touch the wall. There's a used bandage in the corner. Like it was a whole bunch of shit where I'm like,
wearing flip flops so you don't get fungus and shit.
All of that. Then I'm like walking back and like, now I'm trying to like, put my foot through my boxers, but it's still wet. So I'm like this. And now I'm trying to do some shit where I'm not touching my foot back on the ground. So it's like I'm doing an obstacle course after taking a shower. This is crazy.
I relate. Last time I stayed in a hostel was 2017.
Oh, okay.
But I was moving to New York. And so I had all my life belongings.
Oh shit!
And because I didn't have anybody I was cool enough with when I moved out here to where I was like, yo, like, can I crash at your place until I find a place?
Right.
And so I was just in this hostel, same kind of thing. But even hostels in America kind of have, America, people don't realize how not trusting we are in America. Like, there's just not. So like, everyone was kind of like on edge, like, and it was like hot. I was uptown. And I got a place to live like 2 days after that, and I was just like, yeah,
wow,
and I'm done.
Yeah, and that's it.
And I've done the whole hostel thing. My clothes fell apart, like all that stuff. I think it was like 10 weeks almost in hostels, and towards the end, I was like starting to break a little bit, man, because like I'm also partying.
Hold on, you spent 10 weeks in a hostel?
Yeah. Like when I was backpacking with my friend Jay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that like? Like 10 weeks hosteling? That's a lot of time, bro.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we slept outside some of the times. We got cool with some of the hostel reservation or the receptionist, so we were able to like sleep on like the couches in the hostel.
Wow.
I met a lot of really cool people. Some of them I still talk to from all over the world. Had really cool romantic experiences. But yeah, it was a time in my life, and I was like 23 turning 24, and I was about to go to law school, and there was so much that happened during that trip because you really rough it out. You really feel like you're traveling. You're a traveler. Like you're like, oh, I felt like an adventurer.
Wow.
Because we were not prepared. Okay. So there's a lot of people when they are backpacking, they have every hostel they're going to stay at booked out months ahead of time. And actually, that's most people. For us, we were like showing up to cities and not knowing where we were going to spend the night.
Young 20s shit right there.
Yeah. And it was pre-internet shit. Because I'm going to tell you, the internet made nerds and planners win. Before that, it was all not planned. Like, if you just showed up to places, it would work out or whatever. And then the people who planned a lot, they just never went anywhere because they weren't able to control things as much.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That intersection, we were like, oh, snap. We could have nowhere to sleep tonight, or we might have to be like out of town.
Wow, bro,
yeah.
You serious?
Yeah, man. And then there were train strikes that happened in France, and so we got stuck in Barcelona. And Barcelona, all the hostels were booked out, and so we were looking at like just being out on the streets again. In Milan, we had to sleep in train stations.
Damn, bro.
We slept on the overnight train a lot of the time. Yeah, and it was definitely like when I finally got back to London after the trip.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, like I felt like a fractured person, honestly. I just was like, yo, what the fuck happened? Because we were like getting fucked up the whole time too. So that's another element. So it's not just that you're roughing it out. It's that you're roughing it out. You're getting drunk. You're doing other stuff, and you're out talking to girls. It's hot.
Yeah. Eating shitty.
Eating terribly, like kebab.
Yeah.
You know the kebab life.
Oh yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Kebabs and like France, dude. You know, and so yeah. And then I started getting really irritated at the guy I was traveling with, my best friend Jay, and he started getting really irritated with me because like
that will happen.
Yeah, when someone, dude, you see what's wrong with this person. Like when you travel with someone for like several weeks, you know too much. Like there was a point where we were in Rome. And we had just gotten a huge argument over fuck it. I had booked us a hostel in an abandoned building on accident. Oh yeah.
In Italy?
In Italy. Italy's sus to anybody. Like Italy is not. Have you been?
Nah, never been.
It's Rome is ghetto. Like
really?
Rome. Yeah, there's a lot of like places where you're like, I don't feel safe.
Wow. Okay.
And
good to know.
So we had a huge fight. Moving to another hostel, and then I asked him while we're eating. I was like, "Yo, we're eating lasagna." I was like, "What do you not respect about me?" And this dude told me like 5 things. Yeah. And then didn't ask for me to ask that same question back. And
that would do it. That would do it.
I was like, but
okay, yeah.
Yeah, but we grew a lot.
Yeah, I mean that happens though.
Yeah.
We like with good friends. We stay for too long. Eventually, some shit gonna pop off.
Exactly.
Yeah, is that typical like? You know, you be looking, you be like, yo, I don't like how you eat, yo.
Yo, right? Like, why you eating so loud next to me?
Yeah.
You know, have you had an experience like that?
Well, like kind of, I mean, just in my life, bro. Like, staying with people and stuff, like especially my cousins, because they'll always be over my house and stuff, or I'd be over their house when I was younger, and like, at first, like, we were happy to see each other. We're like, oh my god, like, yo, I ain't seen in a long time, and then after like a couple of days, it just be like, we just get into a fight. Start making fun of each other, but make like some deep like type of jokes where you like, yo, fuck you, yo, like fuck you, like. But then it was just reset again once we don't see each other for a long time. But it's always like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think like living with your lover is difficult, because it's like I feel like you just need space, because I think like all that little shit, it just adds up, and then it just like detracts from the love. Whereas I think like the ultimate setup is both y'all having a place,
right?
And then like you spend like a lot of time there, they spend a lot of time with you, but then you have that place to go back and just recharge and miss them.
So how far should the places be from each other? Like what's the ideal like distance would be? Like one city over? Would it be like one side of the house?
I think in your borough on your train stop, I think it's perfect. Yeah, like if you guys have like a place where you guys can just walk to each other's places, but you have a place where you have a sanctuary,
right?
I think that's really ideal to like just recharge and to be your best self in front of them, because it's just like, man, like I just need time to be good enough for you to feel good about this relationship.
That's some real shit. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, after a while we spend time, even with a girl too, you just be like, yo, I just want to do my own shit. Because sometimes it gets to that point where like, I don't know about you, but for me, I just like being alone sometimes and just do nothing. I think that's a common thing. I think what Bill Burr talked about, most every dude comedian, they said it to some degree, right? Like you just like being to yourself. I don't want to have something set up for the day or whatever. I just want to be free to just find shit out, not do nothing. That's it. And then sometimes, after a while, a girl might be, at first it's cute, right? Like, yeah, she's like, yo, let's go to the beach. Let's go here. You're like, yeah, let's do it. After a while, you might be like, yo, no, yo. Like, all right, so what we going to do? Nothing. We're going to do nothing. That's why I have planned today. Nothing.
Yep. I really enjoy, like, I stare at the wall. Like, that's,
yeah.
I come home, I stare at the wall for like 3 hours, and and then that's what it takes. And it's funny because like on my birthday, I did a walk from my crib, but we went up through the Brooklyn Bridge and then walked all the way to the top of Manhattan. And I was like, I told my girlfriend, like, I went and saw her at the end of the night, but like I was like, yeah, like, nah, it's kind of just like for the homies, because like I think also you're allowed to not be hot when you're with your dude friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're allowed to do that goofy shit that just annoys your girl. And I'm not saying my girl's annoyed by this. I'm just saying women in general, I've noticed when you're just being like fucked up with your homies, that's not an attractive look. Like, it's not great. And like there's subtly something like irksome about it, And so I'm like, yeah, let me just have the freedom to hang out with my homies and just do whatever.
Yeah.
and then hang out. I like apportioning time. I don't try to merge my whole life into one thing.
Nah, you can't do it, bro. Because eventually, like conflict is just gonna happen. And to your point, man, like you just want to also not have to care about someone else's feelings, because like you do have to care about her feelings to some degree. Like you just have, I don't, if you, especially if you love her, like you gonna have something innate, like yo, baby, all right, like you gotta use the bathroom, you hungry, this and that, blah blah. You what you do, friends? It's like, I think you get your food, I'll meet you over there. Like, you know what I mean? I don't care.
I don't check in at all. Like with my new friend, like I'm just like, yo, like if they have a problem, they'll let me know, and if they have a big enough problem, they'll leave. Like that's it. I finished the walk by myself. Like that's, like that's, I don't have to like account for everybody's experience, and I think and I think that's the great part about being in love is that you do care about somebody else's experience more than your own in a way that's not just like novel or like, oh hey, are you good? Like, but like. I think that's fun. I think that's the beauty of love. I think that's one of the big issues that I think that a big problem in love right now is that people think love is about them. It's like, it's like, how do I acquire a lover,
right,
and then make them subservient to me in some way, and then and then carry on. But I think love is actually one of the special things. Is like, oh, I actually care about myself less in this instance. Let me like do something for someone and put my priorities at the on the back burner for a bit because I know that they'll get me as well.
Right. Hopefully.
I mean, I'm not gonna put up with a situation where I'm doing like all the stuff.
Yeah.
They're not investing back into me because I think that's like a weird trade off too.
It is. I think a tough thing too is to know at what point is too much.
Yeah.
Like because we live in a society where that's not really well, for one, we're all selfish. Especially you live in America. Like you just bred to be selfish. I want more. Like I don't care if you have a blender. I want my own blender. So it kind of leaks into relationships to where like, nah, I want this, but you're not thinking about what you can give.
That's
so
deep.
I wonder sometimes how that gets played out. Like, all right, how much is too much to give or to whatever? Like, how does that game play between one person and another, especially in a romantic setting?
Like, how have you noticed that being different from like relationships in Liberia and stuff?
That's a good point. That's a good question, actually. I would say relationships is that it involves the family a lot. So like it involves the family in a way that like there's a lot of checks and balances to ensure like y'all doing good. So for example, I might go see my mom. If my mom knows the girl that I'm dating's family, she gonna ask like, "Oh, how's everything going?" Or they might just actually be cool and start talking with each other. So like it just kind of in itself, as we date more and more, me and the girl, whatever, in that type of culture, our family's gonna just kind of gel together a little bit. Like, all right, she's having a cookout at her place, so I'm gonna bring me and someone else, and then I'm gonna meet her family, and then vice versa. And then over time, it just like starts melding together. So it's like a lot of checks and balances to kind of ensure like that back and forth, and a little bit of pressure, I would say. Because again, you're gonna get the question of like, what happened to so and so? Oh no, so and so was nice. Why you did it? Blah blah blah. So, but like culture here is like, no, nobody's checking, nobody cares. So like you don't got no pressure really to make it work. So I would say that's kind of like the main difference is that family gets included almost not, I would say immediately, but fast. Yeah.
And that strengthens the bond of the relationship. I even feel that like, I know my girlfriend's family really well. My parents talk with her and stuff, and so I feel like that like has added another element where like like the things that happen here don't just live and die. It's not a game that just me and her are playing. It's a game that like multiple people are included in, and I think it's different having family involved than having friends.
Definitely, bro.
Because I think friends involved, I always think is actually like, I don't know, I don't like the whole friends thing. Like everyone forgets on Friends, like all of them fucked each other. Like all of.
Wait, what do you mean they all fucked each other? You talking about the friends of the
on the TV show?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like there is that webbing on top of like relationships that I think a lot of times people don't think about. They're like, well, I can't believe, this happened. I'm like, bro, like your best friend is like you, but different.
Right. It's like Not it's not too different, but different enough to be like, huh, this is actually might be interesting. Let me go over it.
exactly. Especially if you're dating somebody who doesn't have a mission of their own, then love, all their drama has to come from love, which is exhausting. If you have someone who has like a mission that they're going for, then they don't have to have all their drama come from the relationship. The drama is from life, and the relationship exists to diffuse that drama.
Wow, that's a good ass fucking point, bro. In terms of that, you said a good thing about the mission of life, like that if that person has their own mission in their life or whatever, and like how that factors into a relationship. I agree. You know, if you ain't got nothing going on, like that should become that gets uncute very fast for a girl. Like they'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what do you know what I mean? But so hold on. Your background, you're mixed, black and Malaysian.
My mom is Indian, but she grew up in Malaysia, so
Oh,
she's
okay.
Malaysian Indian. Like I'm an African American, or my dad's African American. She's a Malaysian Indian.
Okay. And how did that? And you was born
London.
London.
Yeah.
Nice. And how was your time out there in London?
It was good, man. The first 5 years of my life, remember very little, but I think it was a great time. I looked happy in the pictures, but then I went back and did post grad work there, in 2013 and 2014, and like I love London. I think I would be a way different. I think I'd be a lot more confident, like of a person, if I grew up in London rather than, because after that I moved to Hong Kong, but I spent a lot of my childhood in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in London there would have been just more of a space for me to exist in a way that I don't feel like I would have built my entire identity and kind of reaction to whiteness. Because I think like in Texas, it's like you're either white or like Hispanic, and then I didn't really, or you have to choose your race, and then you just got to kind of stick with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
In America, and if you're not 100% that thing, it's always an awkward fit.
Interesting. So, which side did you feel like? I mean, when your time here in America, which side did you kind of, gravitate towards or so like that?
Oh, being black. I mean, being black is cooler. Like being,
Facts.
like a lot of Indian dudes try to be black. And also I think just because my dad's black, it was just, it was easier. And also I have kind of like a little bit of a resentment towards Indian culture, in that they like hate dark skinned people. So like
colorism.
I'm like why would I aspire to be more Indian when the most Indian I would be would still not be acceptable for other Indians?
That's a wow.
Oh.
Did you really like? I mean, I'm assuming because you bounced around to a couple different places. Like I guess you are basically a third culture kid.
Yeah.
Like a person that is a hybrid between two cultures. You kind of like belong to one, the other, but not in a certain way, and like it's all blended. Actually, I mean, one could say three because Malaysian Indian or so, or Indian, I guess, African American, and then London, which is its own thing, right? Like, and then also Hong Kong, which is its own thing, and then Texas, which is its own. I mean, the South is like its own like thing.
Animal, yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different. I mean, how were you able to navigate all those like cultures really? Because that's a tough thing to do.
I appreciate you noticing, and yeah, I think comedy. I think like the reason I think being a clown, like being like a silly person, because you're like, okay, how do I ingratiate myself in this situation where I don't look like anybody? I don't really have a history here. I'm not part of anybody's cultural story, right? And even though like I work out now, whatever, I was a very skinny kid, so I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't good at drawing, or and even though people believed I was smart and I went on to be a lawyer, it's still, when I was in grade school, definitely was not an exceptional student, and I'm more of a troublemaker. But I think a lot of that came from, dude, I just had to like hammer out my own space by being funny. Like I was like, all right, well, like, because like I think the reason why comedy attracts so many third culture kids or people or queer people, etc., is because you are fractured from society, and you can see all these things other people can't see because they're so enmeshed in culture.
Right.
And for me, I remember talking to an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was like talking to me. She was white Jewish, but she's like, there's no representation of like older women, in being sexy in media, which is a fucking lie. There's a whole category MILF,
Yeah.
which is almost completely. You don't see like Indian MILF on fucking Pornhub, like you know what I'm saying?
Indian.
No, like it's almost completely dominated by white women. So that's
Yeah.
first off. But I was like, yo, I've never seen an ad of me. I've never seen anybody in
Oh,
an ad, anybody in a movie.
right.
Bollywood, I wouldn't. I am. It's probably easier for me to get cast in something in Germany than it would be for me to get cast in something in India because I'm dark.
Yeah.
And so I'm not like represented as any type of ideal or anything like that. So I had to come up with ways of just. I read a lot and I delved into philosophy because I thought philosophy allows you to kind of see past culture. It allows you to decode culture. And then I was attracted to comedy because it kind of turns it on its head. Like one of my favorite bits that I do in real life is making white people prove to me that they're white. Because,
Interesting.
Sorry, let me put my phone.
No, that's cool. That's an interesting thing right there.
Yeah, because like Russians will come over here and they'll be like, "Oh, well, you don't like it here, you can leave." I'm like, "Motherfucker, like you're not even white. Shut the You're not even white, bro. You were Hitler's arch villain, dude. Like shut the, you know what I'm saying? Like fuck out of here, bro. I got vets going back to 1840, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Or like even like Irish, bro. You can't be white and have been a slave. Like like this, you were an indentured servant, dude. You're not white, and I'll fracture that concept of whiteness. Because like look, like your grandfather, I'll never let an Irish person forget this. Your grandfather couldn't work at the same place my grandfather worked at. So just because your dad lost his accent, all right, and then joined the enemy team, don't make you white. It makes you an imposter, all right. And if I'm really mean about it, I think I love European people. I think there's a distinction between Europeans and white.
Yeah.
Whiteness is a malevolent concept. It has nothing to do with the phenotypical features. It has to do with the reason why whiteness was invented. Whiteness was invented to subjugate and to speciate humans. It was to say these humans are fully human, and then these other people are lesser humans. So the concept of it is something that I find abhorrent. And I like to poke holes in it where people try to use it to make themselves feel bolstered. If you notice, the most high status people in the world don't get anything from feeling white. They get things from the accomplishments that they have done within the world. If you feel a sense of entitlement because you are white, it's very likely you have not accomplished much in this world. And so race allows you to put a shield around yourself and not allow us to deal with who you actually are as an individual. And so I like deconstructing race because I was born outside of it. And so that's kind of one of the other things. It's like by being a third culture kid, you see how much race is a scam.
Right. That's a fact, bro. I really resonate with that too, man. Because, I'm a third culture kid. Both my parents from Liberia, and then they moved over here. I was born here. First one out of my whole whatever, born here in America. And race was something that was interesting because, like, I was born here, but I had an accent. Like, I had a strong accent. Like, I remember used to telling people, like, I'm born here. They're like, you're not. And I'm like, I have my birth certificate. It's here. They're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what are we talking about, right? Because I had an accent. I had a strong accent. My name is Nya, Nya Yenifin. So a lot about me still is tethered to like Liberia. So, a lot of it was, for instance, I used to walk around and say I'm black. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's come from, this is me and a black person telling me that. And everybody know you're African. And I remember that always was like a conversation. It was always like a reminder, you know what I mean? Like no matter what, it was always different. So I was outside of race, even though I was, I'm black. Like, but to your point about race, it is just only like it's not a true definition of a person. You know what I'm saying? And it was ironic because it was being showed in the examples of like, no, you're African. And it's like, oh, this is interesting because I have a dark skin. So clearly the dark skin is not the determinant of race if you want to play that game. You know what I'm saying? Because like then that means I'm still part of some subsection of this. And then that has its own thing in which, has its own whatever to it. But yeah, to your point, man, I agree, man, with the whole race thing. Like, it is something that people use to kind of bolster themselves up, or as almost as an attribute, like an easy attribute. Like for example, somebody that's Caribbean, that's different than say somebody who's like from, I don't know, from like London even, you know what I'm saying? Or from South, like say East Africa, you know? East Africa is different than West Africa. You know? Even somebody said, if somebody said I was like Nigerian and I act like I'm Nigerian, somebody from Nigeria would be like, no, you're not. We're all African, right? But it's like, nah, you're not. Like, there's some rules. I'm like, yo, I agree. Like, so I don't even play that game. But yeah, to your point, it is something that's like this. It's deeper than race. It just is, you know.
Yeah, that's so interesting when you talk about like black people gatekeeping blackness from you, right? Because you're African. Because what does black represent? Ancestor of slaves, or you had slaves as ancestors within the black community, right? And then there's these distinctions that other people don't notice or whatever. And here's the thing: there's distinctions of whiteness. Part of people say Jews aren't white, but then Jews can't join a lot of country clubs or whatever. There's all these hate crimes against them.
Yeah.
So it's just like people from the outside be like, "Oh, Jews, you're white," but then on the inside they're like, "Oh no," but as the second it's all white people, I have seen how like all white WASP.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they find out someone's Jewish, it's actually a thing. And so like it's people are drawing lines in the sand constantly, in group, out group, in group, out group. Yeah. And that's why I don't like big groups. I don't like big groups because it makes the bigger the group, the more people use these heuristics, right? And race, to just stay on the same thing, is a racist concept. And what I mean by this is, let's say this, Asian people, right? Mm-hmm. That includes Japanese people, that includes Vietnamese people, and that includes Chinese people. Now, all those people would say that they are massively different from each other.
That's a fact.
Right? These people have killed millions of each other, fought wars, I mean, tooth and nail for their own identity.
Right.
So who would they only look the same to? A complete outsider. Right. So in that way, it's a barbaric perspective because it's like from the perspective, it makes you identify with your identity from the perspective of an outsider. Right. Whereas, like, if we just went by ethnicity,
right?
Like, what is it really that hard to just learn people's ethnicity? Because it will help you. It's a way better heuristic. Yeah. Number one, ethnicity determines so much about behavior. Race doesn't really determine that much about behavior. A lot of the stereotypes, let's say, of black Americans aren't the stereotypes of Nigerian Americans.
Right.
Right. Nigerian Americans are like Jews who can dance, bro. Like motherfuckers. Motherfuckers be killing it, right? And that's also because they have a small enough number of people to where they have a community that is tight. The problem about being African American is the community. It's actually too big to be a community because it's 13% of people. It's part of the reason why Hispanics don't vote along party lines a lot of times, because Hispanic people are a bunch of different types of people with a bunch of different ethnic traditions that buy into this. So you're not really moving forward. There's a bunch of Cubans who align with the perspective of a lot of alt-right motherfuckers, yeah, right? Yeah. And then there's a lot of Mexicans who like have a completely different like relationship. And then if you get those people confused, if you call a Colombian a Mexican, those are fighting words, yeah, right? Yeah. You know, and it's just like that's just a weird kind of thing. And so everybody's so caught up with these labels. And I've had the gift of I'm an African American, British Indian, Malaysian man. You know, yeah. I'm a British dude without a British accent. My entire life, you know, would
flexing.
Well, it would be completely different if I maintained my English accent. I used to have one as a kid. I probably wouldn't be as fragmented in a lot of my ways that I was.
Yeah, because it does add a different layer now, given that you lived over there and in Europe and in Hong Kong, which has it has a British population over there, right?
Yeah, it's a British colony. Yeah.
British colony, right? That kind of removed you further out from the culture.
Yeah, so it's like, because it's a question mark. Where are you from? And I say, oh, I'm from London. Instantly, there's disbelief in the same way that you're talking about. Like, no, you're not, because they're like, what is it? It's accent, right? Accent. So people distinguish based on accent before race. Right, like if that's why I say black dudes with British accents don't experience racism in America, because you're constantly feeling the ethnicity of this individual, and so that allows for kind of a greater level of distinction. And with the associations with the English accent of being like, you know, regal, intelligent, all this other stuff, people will just buy into that because we use race to inform us about people when we don't know anything else. But if they have an accent, then all of a sudden you just go with whatever their accent is telling you they are.
That's, that begs the question of what's the hierarchy of heuristics of a person or whatever in society, like, because all right, so you just mentioned something about accent, which that has a layer to it, right? Like if I spoke in an Asian or a Chinese accent, you would assume that you that would be the first one, and then you would be able to assume all the others, right? But if you don't have that, the next one may be like, all right, what's your skin color? So like, for example, you have black skin, I got black skin, so all right, black. But then the third one now is where you from? I'm from London. I'm from, from Jersey. You might be like, oh, okay, so then where's that? So I wonder, there must be some type of hierarchy of like heuristics that kind of determines what this person is to society, I guess. And then maybe the other thing that makes this more abstract is, where is this happening? So in the United States, everything is race focused. Whereas you go to Europe, I mean, Europe, bro, I went to Europe. I'm black in Paris. I don't speak French. That was it for me. Ain't no unity happening over there because I ain't speak the language. So they're just like, even African. I went to African store. I didn't speak French. Like I didn't speak the Creole, the French, or whatever. So that was just it. I mean, the only thing we had was that I spoke in the accents and my certain mannerisms, so I was able to connect that way. Even got to the point where like I was looking to order some food, and then he was like, "You're getting the jollof rice and the chicken." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." Because I'm an African dude. He's like, "Yo, why you hurting your head for? Get the chicken and jollof rice." You know how this goes. And I'm like, "Yeah, no, you're right. You're right." And I got it every time. I was like, "Yeah, no, you're right." So he had that heuristic that he judged about me on that. But that's interesting. So, also too, I think what's interesting about you as well is that you're a comedian. You performed all over, but also too, you're a lawyer, right? Like you're actually like a legit lawyer.
Yep.
And how did that play out? Like, what came first, lawyer or comedian? Like,
so it's funny because it's kind of like intermeshed. I did my first open mic while I was in college, but I was like pre-law at the time, and but I started taking comedy seriously in law school, and I did it to kind of deal with, like, if you think like baseline society's prestige obsessed, enter the law. Like, like it's just, everybody's like trying to flex on everybody else. And I went to Illinois Tech. We had a great IP program, but we're not Northwestern. We're not U Chicago.
Right.
And I didn't really connect with people in Chicago. I love my friends that were there, but it was weird. I just never got invited. Like, everybody would talk to me at law school. No one would invite me to shit.
Really?
Yeah. So I was I'm everybody's one-on-one friend. And that was actually a problem even in relationships. Like, women would like me individually, but like in terms of ingratiating me to the group, that's like a whole thing, because like, what does Will represent? I'm a black hole of signifiers.
Interesting.
And so I started comedy while I was in law school, and then it started really picking up, and I was gonna be a lawyer for the Marine Corps, and like I was gonna be a JAG officer. My grades were good enough and everything like that. Talked to Captain Teal Swan, and he wanted to do like, I had to do some preliminary workout thing to get me A-OK to do boot camp.
Yeah.
And so I was just waiting for him to get back to me on that. And then I did Yom Kippur, which is a Jewish holiday.
Okay.
And I fasted the whole day. And I was like, man, do I really want to be going to the Marine Corps?
Wow.
And I was like, nah, I kind of want to just become a comedian and move to New York after I graduate. And then he hit me up that day, bro. He hit me up right after that realization. And I told him I got another job offer, which was a fucking lie.
Wow.
And
hopefully he's not watching.
Yeah, right. And then I pursued stand up with my whole, and you probably get this too. If there's any culture I feel a part of, it's comedians.
Yeah, bro. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah, bro. Oh my God. Yeah. So weird, but yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man.
That hang. It's like, oh, you'll hang out with regular people and you'll be like, oh, okay, like I had a job. I was at this company called Care Financial. They're like bank for content creators. Really love what they're doing.
Oh, nice.
And in that space, I got to meet like tons of people, like millions and millions of followers. And I have a little bit of a following and stuff like that. And some of them were fans of me.
Nice,
and
man.
I was hanging out with them though, and it was fun. But then I went to the comedy store and hung out with some of my friends over there, and it was just like, yo, like, it just showed me I'm never gonna be a content creator because like I don't vibe with them the way I vibe with comics, right? Because comics are broken people, and this is part of the reason. And they're broken not in a way like, oh, I'm a vlogger and I'm vlogging that I'm broken. No, like comedy breaks you, like it breaks you on top of however you were broken before. It finishes the job, especially back in mic culture. And like Nya and I came up in mic culture. All these new guys who ain't really micing, like you don't. To me, you're not really comics. And am I gatekeeping? Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Because like, bro, I'm watching motherfuckers have meltdowns every fucking day. It's like AA where the person's not trying to get better. Going
to AA and not trying to get better. That is fucking hilarious. Oh shit. Yo, that is he melted down. They be like, yo, it's a mic, relax. You know, like, yo, the reason why we not laughing is because we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we don't. I'm like, dude, this guy's running the light, bro, and he's talking about like how he wants to kill himself. It's like we do not care.
Yeah, it's like, all right, stand in line. All right, like,
dude.
What else is new?
Dude, where's the joke?
All right, you want to kill yourself, and
yep. But it gives you that community, and I think this is the thing to Gen Z. Any Gen Zers watching this? You have to do shit that sucks with people in order for you to have that type of bond. Like for us, it's like, hey, we all have experienced massive amounts of humiliation. A type of humiliation that I don't really think other people can comprehend. Right? I want you to imagine like your wedding and you bomb. Right? Like and like every comic has had shows where they brought out every important person in their life, and it's gone terrible. It's gone terrible, and what happened is exactly what you think would happen. Is people don't want to talk to you afterwards, and all this other stuff, but you remain, and then you have this shared experience with all these other guys that you've been through this stuff with, and that deepens your bond. Whereas if you only have good experiences with people, you don't really fucking know them. Like you don't know them.
That's a fact, bro.
Yeah,
that's a fact. You do need those shitty experiences, especially like, cause y'all go through something. After a while, you're like, damn, yo, that was crazy. Like. The only way you can go through is for y'all to relive it. Like, yo, that shit really fucking happened, and that shit really happened.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or they witness, like, you ever hang out with somebody that witness you bomb? You be like, fuck. All right, how do I grapple with this shit? And y'all just just grappling. Either you bombed, the other person did too, or vice versa, or neither. Y'all did great, even that too. But stand up comedy is something that you definitely you go through some fucking embarrassment.
Yeah, and especially like you've done it internationally. One of the cool things about doing stand up internationally is you realize like that bond isn't even with just American comics, right? You're just like,
that's a fact.
Yo, I'm fucking vibing with this person. We don't even have the same primary language, but we are. You're making me laugh in a way that like, hey, like it's like we've been friends since ever. So it's like a weird church.
Yeah, church. That's a good, bro, because we go to a place and we basically, i.e. worship, i.e. tell our jokes, and then we hang out after and we conjugate and be like, yo, what's going on? So how's so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And like, yo, when's the next service or next show or next mic? That's a good, it is like church. So come out to church, y'all.
Yeah, come out to church. Tonight, actually, I have a show.
The
plug, right? Yeah, but it makes you fucking shameless. And I think that's the thing is I think being a third culture kid, you are thrusted into shame. You're actually a person who shouldn't exist. And you end up feeling that. And because you're alienated from all these situations and it's because you're fucking weird because your parents are fucking weird.
Right.
They did something that not everybody else did.
Yeah.
And then you have to make up for the gap and you have to either be funny or if the other way I've seen it is you either have to be very smart or very attractive. I've noticed like the third culture kids that I know who are like hyper attractive, they don't have any of this problem because beautiful people are their own race. Like people,
that's another culture.
Yeah, it's a whole nother experience.
Right,
and like you can be attractive, but being beautiful, like being beyond reproach,
right?
Like they talk about like, I felt alienated, and that's why I like got in my first relationship a little bit too early when I was 15. Their problems are all because they were desirable. They didn't have to make up that gap, right? Like my whole thing was like, I have to solve this problem because I could die alone. Like you know what I'm saying? And there's a part in my internal math where I was like, yo, if you don't get this figured out, people don't hang out with you enough in groups to where, because like the thing is, since I'm a liability in a group, like people don't think about this, but like attractive people or are like like a resource of a group, and so they tend to pair off with people who are in the in group.
Right.
If you're in the out group, like you're sure we'll fucking hang with you, but you won't get none of the fucking resources
they
or anything.
They ain't gonna do that shit.
That's why I was asking girls for their number at the mall at 15. Like
we all did that shit.
Yo,
yeah,
like right,
man.
Pound right there,
bro.
Dude,
we
like,
all did that
hey,
shit.
Can I get your number? Like, like say
man.
5 words, and they would text back, and then you call and have a 30-minute conversation and go see a fucking movie. It was easier. You could spend 3 hours at the mall being goofy looking and get more dates.
Oh yeah.
Than you could on Tinder after spending like tons of money getting photos professionally taken.
You could be winning at the mall. Like that used to be you used to just go to the mall just to hang out and see what happens. That used to be like the hangout spot.
Yep. American culture.
Yeah.
Yo.
That's a cornerstone of American culture right there. Just going to the mall. Well, now it's not anymore. I guess that culture changed now, right?
No, yeah, it's gone all online.
Yeah, it's weird now. That is a culture in itself, right? Online culture, I guess, Yeah,
Discord, all that, like being internet kids. And I like sometimes I'll be flying people in Washington Square Park, and after 2-3 hours, bro, like it's hard to be nice to someone who's being disrespectful. And so like sometimes the Gen Z kid, I was barking them, and then they were like, yeah, I hate comedians. And
they
I was
just
like,
said that to you?
Yeah, said it to me.
What?
And I was like, have you ever been to a show? And they're like, no, but like, I heard like they're like racist and stuff. And I was like, well, you're kind of being racist right now because you don't have any experience with comedians,
right?
And yet you're saying that you hate them. And then I was like, anyway, you get half off on the thing. He's like, oh, half off, and and he said some other derogatory thing. I was like, hey man, I'm right in front of you. I was like, I'm right in front of you. I'm like, you guys are Gen Z, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to tell you something. You do not know as much about the world as you think you do. I said, you think you know things because you read them online, but you have no real life reference experience. I'm a human being right in front of you. There's no reason to be this disrespectful. And
wow, that's crazy that he did that.
Yeah, dude, like, and I was like, dude, like, what? You guys don't do anything interesting. You're sitting there staring at your phone, right?
Right.
You're like, do you know you're in a park and you're staring at your fucking phone? Right, this is real life happening in front of you, and yeah, do I sound like a grumpy curmudgeon? Undoubtedly.
Nah, bro,
Yeah.
I feel you on that,
Yeah.
bro. Like, all right, so I got 2 questions on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so these kids that you encountered or whatever, did they look like they've been punched at least once in their life? Okay, there you go. Because I feel like that's something where if you don't live in a time or a place where like violence occurred or whatever, you just don't have that wherewithal. Like for them to even say that shit to you, derogatory and stuff, and like not even look like, that shit's weird to me. That's where maybe my age is showing, because like, yo, anytime somebody talks shit, like you had to know you can back it up. You know what I mean? Like you actually doing assessments. Like, all right, if I say this wild shit, I gotta make sure this person ain't gonna punch me in the face, or I'll be able to dip it, or maybe I'll be, you like assessing how you can physically deal with this person. Now this person just, these kids now, they just saying something wild and not even thinking of the factor. Like even for you to say like, yo, I'm right in front of you, I know that came from a place like, yo, I could fuck your shit up, yo.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
like who you talking to,
Dude,
yo?
bro, exactly.
Like who you like you. Like, yo, like, yeah, that would have fucked with me, because it'd be like, yo, all right, what was your assessment for you to say that type of shit right here in front of me? That would be my thing. It'd be like, all right, like, so do I let you know? But we live in a time, again, I'm not a violent person, okay? I'm a person that just lived through a violent time in life or in history. But, yeah, that's weird how, I guess that's a new culture now where people just kind of talk but don't think of the physical aspects, because that was always something that was included when I grew up. Like, bro, there was just times where like, yo, if you walk down this street, you are just gonna get punched in the face. Ain't doesn't matter what you did or nothing, you just was the wrong person on the street and you get punched, and then that was it. So now you had you had no choice but to assess physicality in your world. So say for example, I'm wearing, somebody used to make fun of me or whatever, and I'll be making fun of them back, and then they'd be like, yo, well, I'll get my cousins and everybody to fuck you up. And they'd be like, all right, well, no, because I saw his cousin's pretty big. My cousins are not that big, so I'm gonna shut up now. Or I'm gonna tailor my jokes in a way of this, or I might say my jokes and make sure I gotta exit. You know what I mean? So I don't know, it's an interesting time now where people just say wild shit, but sorry you had to go through that, man.
Oh, dude, it's. I mean, like that's part of the fun, though. Like, I just think about it like, I love comedy this much, Like, I'm a 33-year-old man who's a lawyer handing out flyers to people so that I'll hand out 300 flyers so that maybe 15 people show up if I'm lucky to that thing on top of the online people and everything like that. And to me, like, love can only come through suffering. So like, I'm like, you can't know you love something unless you willing. That's why I think this new wave of comics, this like 30-year-old wave of comics where we like been through like the 2010s and shit.
Yeah.
We actually are in some ways like the most. We have because so many of us haven't made it yet, but are still trying, and so like there's just so much like storyline and plot that just
storyline and plot.
Whereas it's like, you know, Bill Burr's time and shit, the motherfuckers were at least on television a couple times or whatever, bro. Like I know dudes who like podcast, like these kind of podcasting all over the fucking world, knowing each other, everything like that. Ain't no one made it. Ain't no one, but everybody's just trying, fucking
just
like
trying, bro,
and having weird stories. Because it's like once you get famous and rich, the stories kind of become less interesting because you always have a way out, or there's the fame button. When you're kind of in the thing, shit can just be weird, man. Like, you know, like, hey, I had a friend, he did 700 days of comedy in a row in the trains. What? Yeah, Clay Hurlbut. He did over 7. He did 900 days straight, and he did over 700 days straight in the subway. And people were writing about it, like on like different various things. Like, hey, you see this dude? Like, just get in and he didn't try to make no content about it.
Wow.
Nothing. That was just his life. And you're just like, man, like, yeah, I came up with that dude. We ran a show at Laugh Factory together, like, you know, and we're still in it. And like, you know, or like the other dude, Terrence Hartnett, dude, got cancer twice, man. Lost his testicle, lost his lung. Now he's doing like shooting a whole documentary about that shit. And it's just like, yeah, man, I remember when Terrence and I were at Mike's together, bro. You know, and we met, and the dude Dave Metz, who like I met Terrence with, died of an overdose. Rest in peace.
Oh man,
dude. And then I brought up like that night I found out Dave Metz died. I brought up Josh Johnson. When I was hosting at Westside. I was like, Josh Johnson knew Dave Metz, and now Josh Johnson opens for Trevor Noah. You know, and you're like, what? Like, so there's this massive like webbing. It was the weirdest way I ever brought up anyone. I was like, yo, actually, this next comic knows a comic that I know. His name is Dave Metz, and can we have a moment of silence for Dave Metz? Hey, bro, I was like,
Jesus. Oh, you did a fucking memorial as you was bringing somebody up.
I
would have hated you, bro.
He did. He's like, oh man. He's like, well, Dave was cool, but like, damn, you just gotta like shut down the room right before.
A moment of silence, like, nah, nigga, I want him to laugh, yo. What you mean silence? I don't want no silence. I want him to. Oh, give me moment of silence.
Well, yeah, bro. Like, but that's like the weird thing. Like, you're like, oh shit, and now he's doing things and everything like that. But now it's weird because I don't know what it means to do things. I don't know if there's a making it anymore.
I mean, bro, you don't. I mean, I guess making it now is so abstract or asymmetrical now. There's no like the trajectory now could be anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And like for you now, like you have a huge TikTok following.
Thanks, man.
And you know, the way you did it, I don't know if you want to talk about it in terms of how you got there, but it was like really focused on like philosophy, and then turned into some other things, and like, you know, now you kind of branching off to other stuff. So like, would you say like your TikTok journey, does that make you feel like you made it or something like that? Or
so in some ways, yes. I would say every day I'm flying in Washington Square Park, there's probably two to five people who come up to me like, yo, I love your TikTok.
Oh, bro.
And that's
famous, man.
And so that feels good. Made money for like selling my book and stuff, and had a lot of other opportunities come from that. Nice. But I think making it, to me, is where you accomplish something that financially rewards you in a way in which that you no longer have to worry about income. In a way, not because you made so much in one lump sum, but because there's a deal flow that is beginning to happen, that you can kind of sit back and accept deals or not accept deals and in that way, and I'm not at that point. I have some inbound stuff coming in, but I still got to do a lot of grit stuff, but I feel like it's coming.
Okay.
I feel like, and one of the things I do my TikToks and my various accounts and stuff, I gotta help out a lot of people. Like that's what I loved about the philosophy thing is like, oh, like people be like, oh man, like you changed my life, or like I did this differently because of you, or I divorced my wife because of you, which is crazy.
Oh wow.
I made a video and a dude divorced his wife, and that's happened multiple times.
Shit.
And I'm like, yo, that's not, and it wasn't even about like, yo, like women or anything. It was just like, just some philosophy stuff, but it hit people in that way, and so that I love that part. So I think TikTok has been just a really great thing. I think they rip off creators. I think we live in a time where it's so weird. People, you can communicate so much value and get paid pennies on that stuff.
Right.
You know, it's like it's a very weird sensation to have something that has been liked by 1 million people, like 1 million people, like an incomprehensible amount of people. You would have to count, if you counted each one of those person, it would take 27 days to count all of them. And yet, you make $60. You know, you can, and they say, well, like we gave you the opportunity to be seen, but you made an ad for them, because that's basically every piece of content on TikTok or any short form media is a piece of advertising to get people to use the platform so that they see more ads. And so if it was like a Super Bowl ad, like, you know, or NBA playoff ad that had been that successful, you're talking about paying like $500,000.
Yeah, a lot of money just to reach that amount of people. Yeah.
And it's not like they gave it to you. Your content is literally competing against every piece of content out at that exact moment. So they try to make it sound like they did you a favor. No, they put the best shit in front of people at that time.
Right.
And I am a firm belief that a lot of these short form apps want to keep you broke. So you continue making content. They do not want you to ever make enough money to not make content, because then they would have to pay more for content. And so they are going. So a lot of the business widgets that they have are like, you ever work with someone who's trying to pretend like they're doing work, but they're not doing work?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like when I look at a lot of the business widgets for particularly TikTok and Instagram. It's like, let me like pantomime like I'm trying to help you make money, but actually make it very inconvenient. Because the most convenient way to help you get paid on the app and to basically have financial security for a lot of content creators is to attach a tip feature that is clear on the app itself, in the comment section, that is easy to access, and then do a promotion about that thing. It's like, hey, we need to start a culture of tipping content creators, because a lot of them are living in very precarious situations. And we tip for Chinese food that comes 40 minutes late. But a motherfucker will have a video and be like, yo, this video changed my life.
Right.
Like that, like, you know, like, and it actually, and I'm guilty of this too. I've had YouTube videos. My life would be dog shit.
Oh my God.
Right? If there was no YouTube, you have so much more empathy for dudes in the 90s when you realize, yo, you didn't have YouTube, bro. You just had to figure that shit out.
For real.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God, bro. YouTube? Son, just certain things you wrestle in your mind and somebody able to explain it, you're like, oh, okay. Things will be better after this. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, bro. Yeah.
Dude, I am thankful. YouTube, that's why I won't ever talk shit on YouTube, really. They try to pay creators, and they're struggling with their own thing, but I have had so many. I had an older dad, and I love my dad, and he given me so much great advice, but there was a generational, he didn't know how to give me advice for the problems I was having, because the world had fundamentally changed. Yeah. And so I didn't have an older brother. And so, and having an older brother as a guy is like a hack. If you have an older brother, you have life on easy mode. A dude who's around your age to just help you navigate the fucking problems in front of you. My God, dude, it godsend. Because if you're just a dude alone, you're just a fucking idiot. And so like, yeah, but I had what I'll call digital older brothers through YouTube to help me realize all the weaknesses and shortcomings of myself. And the content that was available on YouTube for free, I would have never paid for. That's the sad part. I would have never paid for it. But if I go back in time, I would give them how much that advice is worth. Some of it, tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, bro. Hell yeah. Yeah.
Right? For free. For free. And I've been that guy because I think, Nietzsche talks about the Ubermensch. And he says that the Ubermensch's purpose is you never become an Ubermensch. What you are supposed to do is you're supposed to strive in such a way that you become a bridge for younger, better men to walk across you towards their own journey. And I've been that, and I think that that's a very important part of being a young man is a concept of mentorship. My co-founder, he's several years younger than me, but being able to mentor him and to see him grow and to see him prosper,
right?
Because I failed. His prosperings come built on the backs of humiliation and failure and nights crying for me. And he doesn't have to spend those same times crying or anything like that or having to be as frustrated as I was because I was able to do that. But the same thing is my frustration was made so much easier by dudes experiencing another level of hardship in order to figure the shit out that made it easier for me. And so I think that's how you pass it along. You pass it along by suffering so others who come after you suffer less. And I think that that's part of it. But I've gone back and paid a lot of the people who give me advice. But there's some people who, like, their content was fire for a bit, and then their content stopped being fire. And I was like, all right, well, peace, even though I use your advice every fucking day. Yeah. And I tell people it's a weird business model. Like, if, like, let's say there was a coffee company that sold, they gave you free coffee. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, but maybe one day you'll come back and buy a t-shirt, and that's our business model. Yeah. You'd be like, that's a fucking stupid model. Yeah. That's the content creation model. Everybody's like, yeah, like, I know you're great at making videos, but start a t-shirt company, and that's how you'll make your fucking money. And I'm like, dude, fuck that, dude.
Yeah, no, it is messed up like that in terms of, like, because people don't come back to support you. They just watch more of your shit. And then as soon as you stop being, like, this value source for this person, then they just stop consuming your stuff, and then you're like back to square one where you're like, what the fuck, how do I survive now? Exactly. And I think about it with my book, and like, dude, I had TikTok actively stop my book sales from happening. That was probably one of the most painful things. So during the pandemic, I was selling lots of my books, sold enough of my book to where it got picked up by Barnes & Noble and Target. Nice. It was really going, and I was mentioning it in the comment section and the caption of all my videos. But then TikTok censored the word link in bio from the comment section. But they did this because I was making so much from the book. I was like, what if I make a private learning community so that I can educate kids and make longer forms of my content, and that way I can build out this entire community. And so I spent 2 months building a massive thing. It was really extensive. It was over 250 modules. Oh, wow. I taught philosophy, architectural concepts, life advice, all this other stuff, because I had a lot of people from lower income trying to who were part of my audience. So I wanted them to, if they were going to spend any of their money on it, to get the most bang for their buck. And so I made it so that'd be $3.99 per month. So it's a cup of coffee. You get literally my entire life's work, everything in this thing. Wow. And so I built this entire thing. It's called the Praxis Portal, and I wanted it to be a learning education system for kids and learning academy. That's when TikTok rolled out, no longer a link in bio. It was censored, all this other stuff. I only had at most like a couple hundred members or whatever. And then I ended up feeling bad because, like, I saw people trying to charge their cards or use multiple cards to, like, and I just eventually made it for free. Wow. But I didn't keep up with it after that. After I made it for free, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, hard for you to do something when it's free, you know? Yeah, for a long time.
It was just like, wow, like, I could probably have just made my living for the rest of my life off of that. And TikTok, in its greed, has basically took away one of the easiest ways it would have been for me. I'm not even like, it's just like, wow, like, you really trying to capture all that value. Yeah. And it's like, yo, like, you could have just rolled out something in the app, and now they have this series feature, but it's too late. And the thing is the frame of TikTok itself people don't want to pay for something when it's framed as something that they should be getting for free.
Yeah, and I mean, and especially with the TikTokification of everything now, that's like kind of where all these social media applications are heading towards.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. But yeah, that's because I remember even because I mean I didn't follow your journey on TikTok, but I just knew where you was at and like even the content you was doing, which was like philosophy. Like I'm very much into philosophy, maybe not as detailed as you are with like the nuances and stuff, but just seeing you pop off with philosophy, I was like, oh shit, like you can do this on social media. I thought you had to do some weird dances and move around and stuff, But it is sad that you trying to help people out further than the content you're putting out, but then the social media is like the platforms are like kind of like suppressing it for other means,
Yeah.
Like, or I mean, but I think now this, you got like Patreon now, you got like some other things where you can kind of do it, but I guess like for someone to suppress what you got going on, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah, well, so from an internet marketer perspective, so I have a lot of beef on this. If I sound like a bitter person, it's because I am. It's
okay.
I'm a like when I was writing on Quora, I outperformed the entire Houston Chronicle for 6 months. So there's the Houston Chronicle, and my things were going more viral. I had more views and reads than the entire Houston Chronicle for 6 months, and I received no money from that. And it's like, and people, because people are like, well, and so there's like what I call this Gen X, where it's like you should do the thing for the passion or whatever. If they just had a fucking tip feature, it would have changed my life. And the problem as an internet marketer, you understand so you say sign up for Patreon, but like so Patreon, it's a friction-filled process. Like love Jack Comte, I've actually met him back when I worked at my old company. He gave me some really great advice, but he'd even admit, if I have to go from like, hey, from TikTok to Patreon, make a Patreon account, put in my credit card info, select the tier, bro, you're losing people at every stage of that process. Every stage of that process. And so, and here's the thing is undoubtedly, like, hey, it's work for people and everything like that. It's just one of those things where it's like, we have never had more people create value and so little of it be paid for. And then you have people so scornful about it where it's like, well, you're doing it from your house and blah, blah, blah. And it's because they're working hard jobs too. This is not to say like you're not working hard or anything like that. What I am saying is the value being created is so rarely being apportioned to the individuals that are creating the value. It is so often put in the hands of the people facilitating it, who undoubtedly have contributed something great. Like, it is what is my life demonstrably better because of TikTok existed? 100%.
Right.
Like undoubtedly. But the thing is, I'm not going to stop arguing for the fact that things could be more fair, because I was in a situation where I had multiple different streams of income. I had all these different types of businesses. There are people on TikTok who got 800,000 followers making really great content during the pandemic and are homeless now. And they had an opportunity to make a lot of money, but they didn't have business savvy people in their corner. And so you've taken probably the most profitable portion of their life, things that will live on forever, things that they will be recognized for, and you have there's no way for them to make money from it now, right? And so it's just this weird space of like, yes, this is really cool, but we live in a time, even if I was in Europe, right, where you don't have worries. You go viral on TikTok in Europe, it's different. Oh, people noticing you in the street, that's great. You're never going to be homeless, right? Yeah. You got healthcare, right? Like,
you got healthcare.
You got healthcare. Oh, yeah, I'm being noticed in the street and I have healthcare. This is fucking awesome.
That's a good fucking point, yeah, because over here in America, you definitely need to make fucking money to, like, live.
Yeah, dude, there are SoundCloud rappers who contribute more listening time than entire countries' national radios. Like, I want you to let that land. Like, people are working for free. Americans self-exploit. People don't realize it. We are the most self-exploiting people in the world because everybody in their free time, dude, you got a full-time fucking real deal fucking tech job.
Yeah, real deal,
hard job. Y'all don't see this right here. This is a fucking production, bro. This is several. You are the audio guy, the lighting person. So audio, lighting, video editing, talent. That's five different jobs in the 90s. That's five different jobs you're doing on your own for something that right now on the promise that maybe one day it might make some money, not even directly from the thing, that someone will see this and maybe buy a ticket to see you somewhere else. Do you understand how fucking convoluted this shit is, and we do it, and we're like, yeah, got to. I just bought, like, I was late to this thing because I'm getting a new phone so I can get it more crisp, so I can compete on the algorithm because I'm at every moment, and I see how much these businesses are spending, dude. As a content creator, I'll tell you this: I have seen businesses spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to not get 100,000 followers. This shit is tough. It is rare, and we think it's common because that's how the apps see the public. Anybody could do it. No, you're actually really fucking rare, and you can't even feel it because everybody's like, yeah, but anybody can blow up on TikTok. Have you tried them, bro?
Yeah.
Have you fucking tried?
Difficult.
It's difficult. It's very competitive, and it's very competitive to sustain. Right, and
Very
but
difficult.
like we live in a cool time, but it's a weird time.
It is a weird time, bro. Yeah, I'm capped at 250 constantly on TikTok, so I don't know.
And it's weird because like when shit works, you're like, yo, like I think life's about to be different.
Hell nah, bro. They cap your shit right back down to low hundreds. You be like, what the fuck happened? I thought I was on the good side of you algorithms, and now y'all just jumping the shit out of me with low view counts.
Yeah, and then you have people write mean shit to you. Like, here's the thing. People don't realize this. People almost never say mean shit to your face. Sometimes your friends do, but most of the time, people don't say that shit. Mm-hmm. When you have a video that goes viral, I want you to know any insecurity you had, they saw it, and someone wrote a comment about it.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Dude, you know how rare it is that someone would ever tell you, someone you didn't know would tell you something really mean inside your own bed? Only if they were murdering you. That's...
They only when they're murdered.
That's it. Only when they were murdering you. Now, like I read mean shit from people all over the world, being like, I had one dude say this. Why is it the way you move your lips in a way that makes me feel that like English isn't your first language? What?
Yo, those specific jokes be killing a motherfucker. Yo, you be like, yo, what? How? So you start talking different. You might like, I'm gonna start talking like this now. You know?
No, dude. I had to get a headspace. I'd get my voice like deep and be like, yeah, because people don't want philosophy from a guy who's like fucking blah blah blue. They want it from a guy who's like serious. So I put on my serious head. I'm like, yeah,
oh man,
Hegel in its first blah blah blah.
Right, and then in the back of your head, you're like, yo, fuck this shit, yo.
Yeah, bro. I just want to be me. I want to be me full time. That's all being a comic is, full time being yourself.
Yeah, you have to, man. I mean, that's kind of like the goal of a person coming from a third culture, right? That you want to be yourself in all the tapestry and the textures that come along with it. Like, yeah, I think, which is difficult. I mean, we're in a good time where we can do that to some extent, and like that's being more recognized. But I feel like when you come from like a culture that's different than the one that you're in now. And you don't connect with either or of those, you kind of trying to find a place where you just connect, period. Which stand-up does that, but stand-up doesn't pay. So then that leaves you in a weird place, kind of like, all right, I got to find a way to live for real, like physically in America, like, healthcare, home, food. And yeah, I think like with these ongoing like clashes of cultures and new cultures that are being identified and emerging, like now we got online, you got Gen Z, right? You got stand-up culture, you got influencer culture now, right? Which that's its own thing. I wonder how it's all going to play out.
Yeah, I think it's going to homogenize. I think here's the thing. The internet homogenizes. Mm-hmm. The internet makes everybody the same. Like, internet culture makes people the same. That's why I'm all focused on local shit. That's like I moved all my, if you want to make money in the future, get the fuck away from the computer and go to reality, because that's just going to be taken up by AI. Right? And build things in your local area, because the people still have to go out and interact with that thing. Like, the first business I want to buy is a dry cleaner. Because people are going to still need to clean their clothes. It's like enough people in New York don't have a washing machine. Like that. Because AI is going to take all this online shit, and it's going to make life boring and weird online. And, so I think I think hardship makes weird culture. Influencer culture, I think, is going to eventually die out. Like, I think, like, this space of being online, this is a hot take,
okay,
but I think online culture, like in America, is going to get played. Like, I think eventually People are there's gonna be people who stay at home and just like rot in their homes, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's gonna be people who are like, yo, I think I might die without any memories that are my own, right? Like yeah,
Wow.
like I've sat around and watched people live my entire life, and I don't have any real memories. I have no real memories. I borrow stories from other people to talk with them about, right? They're going to be
Damn.
adventureless, boring people, people who know every fact but have done nothing, so they don't know anything.
Wow, that's some real. I can see that coming.
Yeah.
I can see. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. I can see. Yeah, damn. That's a scary culture that's probably gonna happen soon.
Soon, man, and that's like that. That's why I'm like, look, Gen Z. I love how y'all be voting and stuff. I think y'all are really cool. Y'all some cool heads. Millennials aren't as cool as y'all. Like straight facts, we're not. We're not cool. Millennials are awkward and hot. Like that's like the goal of a millennial. Like it's like, hey, isn't this ironic? Also, slut. Like I'm a slut. Like Gen Z be talking about like I'm like, how are you 19 and been in 3 polyamorous relationships? What the fuck?
Yo,
Like
that's a fact,
they
bro.
be nerding up like
They
cool
be
shit.
fucking. They be fucking like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but in like a nerd way, like they're trying to rush through it like it's a menu and category list. So check. Like millennials, it was like, man, like I remember when like blowjobs were kind of like still like, oh,
Yeah.
like oh,
you was just good with that. You was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm good. I'm set for life. Like,
because you compare yourself with people from the internet. Like that's the other thing is like I don't think anybody realizes how hot they are. Like, because they're comparing themselves with people online. Like when I was living in France, I didn't have many friends, so I was on TikTok a bunch, and I felt hideous. I was like, because TikTok, it's showing you the most attractive people.
Oh yeah.
Across the planet,
And they pushing that to you.
pushing it, and so I was like, man, I'm fucking just terrible looking. And then I went outside and I was like, oh, no one looks this hot in real life. Like you could go your whole day and not see anybody as hot as you see on TikTok once.
Especially France. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Hey, you doing
the
good.
south of France, yeah.
Oh, you was in the south of France? Oh, bro. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like I think screen time is interesting because he's like oh 6 hours screen time, bro. Wait, what? That means I spent 6 hours of my waking day
Yeah, that's
staring
just
at the
crazy.
phone, and it's a very weird thing to think about. If you have to watch your life, one of the things I'm most afraid of is when you die, you have to watch your life. You just have to watch it from a third person perspective. You know,
wow.
you just gotta watch it like it was a movie and shit. No fucking colored by your thoughts, nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'm terrified because I'm like, damn, I spent so much time just staring at fucking screens.
Oh yeah,
right?
bro.
Like just
It's
like
scary.
thieving my life away from me. And but the weird thing is, I know people from like that hit puberty in like the 90s and shit. Their lives are a mess. So like staring at that screen did help out some of the thing. But it's a weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
What's your relationship like with technology?
Technology, man, it's one that I appreciate it. Like, in terms of, I would say most notably being able to connect with family members back home in Africa and Liberia. So like, for instance, I can go on WhatsApp and like, screen, do FaceTime with my mom and then show her like the school that she went to in elementary school and she haven't seen it in like years, because the internet service, due to technology, they're able to extend it way into the hinterland or whatever, right? So, technology in that sense, I appreciate it. If I want to send remittances back or money, I can do so like with my phone, like easy, and they get it through their phone, and like it's like quick and fast instead of going to Western Union and then get the money there, stay in line. So I like the speed. I like technology in a way it increases the speed of interaction amongst people, specifically me and my family. The downside I would say is like what you mentioned of like the screen time, bro. Like the screen time is something that like I have something on my phone where it shows me the screen time and it's like it's very embarrassing every time. I had to admit to myself that I have a full blown addiction to like social media. Like I actually do. Like when I see Instagram, like I click on it, I'm just like, oh my god, like all right, cool, and I'm just like scrolling. I'm like, yo, how did I end up here? Even Facebook or anything. Like as soon as I click it, I'm like just on it. Like I wake up in the morning, as soon as I see that little like camera with the little red or whatever, I'm just like So I had to pay for an app to like block my applications. Isn't that funny? I had to pay for an app to block my apps. That's where I'm at right now with my addiction. But I had to admit it, and it's like very scary in that so much of my time is like in that. But at the same time, you as an artist, you have to create on social media at this stage in life. You just have to. I feel like I mean, try to avoid it. We try to, say, nah, we don't have to. People will come out and say, nah, they're not.
No.
No, you have to. You have to invest in this thing that's taking so much of your time already. So it's like that dance you got to do. Then you got algorithms, right? And that kind of like fighting the urge to appease the algorithm and kind of create for yourself as an artist. So doing that dance of like, okay, does this really speak to me? Does this speak to the algorithm? And how do we nurture a conversation here so people can see more of my stuff, but I'm not just doing shit just for the algorithm? Because, we all hear stories about somebody like doing things for the algorithm and not being in a happy place, or like somebody that's dancing all the time, right? After a while, he might have some deep shit to say, and like, yeah, that's great. Can you dance while you doing it? And it's like, so you basically tap dance like, all right, so I'm talking about some deep stuff, and it's like, damn, bro, like you have so many layers, but because this dance, not dance, but this conversation you have with the algorithm, it's like you kind of stuck, like where you're appeasing it. It brought you to this level where you're being known, you're being recognized, or whatever. But it's just really representative of who you are as an artist, as a creator.
Yeah.
And like kind of grappling with that constantly. Because sometimes you put out some shit, it might get a lot of views, but it's like, yo, is this me? Like,
I feel that. I made a video, got 500,000 views the other day, and it was about that guy who's taking blood from his son.
Oh, I saw that. I was like, yeah, people was coming at you.
Yo, coming at me hard. I was like, bro, I didn't know that this was a controversial opinion.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I'm like, yo, why are people like getting angry at you? This is weird. Like what they.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's like the internet is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, I eventually took the video down because I was like, man, I want this motherfucker to randomly sue me or whatever. Bro.
Oh, because if he looked crazy. He looked like he would do that.
Like, bro, he look like you have no idea, bro. And like, motherfuckers sue you, they can ruin your fucking life.
Right. And he got money.
He got money, dude.
Yeah.
He got money, dude. Like that's like,
damn.
Dude, there's so many different ways people can be violent, right? Like, and so like, like some people are physically violent, some people are emotionally violent, some people are litigiously violent. So you gotta figure out. I'm like,
yeah, he will abuse you with no. And
bro,
look at his
like,
face.
what?
His face, he has no emotion either. So
No.
he just sue the hell out you while I'm blinking.
Yeah, without even blinking, dude. And but like I didn't even feel. It got 500,000 views, but I'm like, man, I don't even feel fucking good about this shit, dude.
Right.
Like, and that's the thing is, I feel like the weird thing about anything that makes you money in America is it will take it to a place where it's not enjoyable. Like, and I'm not talking about like I think there's an element of all work that isn't enjoyable, and I think that's one of the beauties of doing work. But there is a point where it's like, yo, like you don't have to suck the soul out of all this shit and give me as little as fucking possible. But I think that's like kind of the weird trade-off. Like you talk about the social media stuff, and it's like, bro, like staying true to yourself and also making clout. Dude, I grew my shit talking about anime, right? And so like a lot of people think I have to grow up talking about philosophy. No. I thought I started with talking about anime, and I fucking slipped in philosophy after a bit. But I don't watch anime. Really, yeah, I watch some anime, but I don't watch that much. I was like reading up the wikis of the thing and then writing up like scripts of like summarizing the character.
Interesting.
So I think that's the weird thing is like I don't think you get to like just be yourself and ascend. I think you got to suppress who you are, and then just fucking try to have it aligned so you don't feel like you're putting bad stuff into the world, and then just keep moving forward, and hope that it eventually gets to a place where you can then make it align with your values when you have enough money. Because like the thing is that like I always tell people this is the ACLU, which is a legal organization to help it fight for the civil rights in this country, a very good organization. A lot of the attorneys that work for them went to Harvard, Yale, and Stanford.
Right.
Some of the best attorneys in the fucking world. And it's interesting because they make $70,000 a year. And if they worked in the private sector, they would be making $190,000 a year right out of school.
Fuck.
So like that means that your want to do good is priced in at $120,000. Like $120,000. It's priced in at that capacity. That's insane to think about.
Crazy, bro.
Right, and because people will be like, well, they don't have as deeper pockets as these big law firms. No, they could hire fewer people.
Right.
But they have so many people applying that want to do good in this world,
Right.
that they can actually just take on more attorneys and just pay them less. And I'm not saying that this is bad on the thing. They probably they're using it right, but it's like, wow, that people are willing to do this hard of work and get paid 120 grand less than their classmates that scored just as high as them at private firms. And that shows you, it's like being a good person is not profitable.
Oh,
right?
nah.
The system, it is not of the nature of profit. Because to really get all the money you can get out of someone is kind of like a weirdo thing. Like, you got to be kind of a weird, like, your friends who like make the most cash, they're kind of fucking weird. Like, they make shit weird. They'll make shit weird over something small that you're like, are you really making it this big of a deal out of something this small? And they're like, yeah, fucking matter. And it does matter if you're trying to make all the sense, right? And that's because also capitalism rots and corrodes community. So every product that you buy, I have a joke that, can I do a bit like a
go ahead, go ahead.
It is about some third culture shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So did your parents cook for you growing up?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Aunts and stuff cook for you?
Oh yeah.
Family members cook for you, like, and it's interesting that like now, like my mom, my dad, my sisters, they all cooked for me growing up. And it's just interesting that person in my life, like my mom, has been exchanged by a dude named Muhammad from Jordan, who is at a food truck. Like, right. Like the making of food for someone is so intimate. I have had sex with women that I have never cooked for, right? Like for a while, right? Like, and that's not even weird. Like cooking for someone is like one of those things you do like when you're dating somebody. Right. And with capital, that has just been like put out to like, now I outsource this to just a random dude I don't know. And I tip him, but that makes him kind of like an escort. He's like a food escort for me.
Food escort.
But it's like capitalism and like comes at community, because every part, like everything that your community does for you, capitalism's like, I could do it better. Uber used to be your homie. Used to be like, hey man, you free on Saturday, bro? I gotta go do this thing. My car's in the shop. Can you pick me up? Now you don't, like, I don't even need to bother, homie. I got Uber. And that's a good thing, because there's a tons of time where your friend is not available.
Yeah, or drunk
or something like that. And so it's not all bad, but it does, depending on people, and being inconvenient is how community gets stronger, right? Because like community gets stronger because you have personal debts with, like, let's say your cousins, right? You got your cousin this time. Hey man, remember when I got you that time? It's a micro lending service, right? Like that's what community is, right? But like the cool thing about community is community will never kick you out of your fucking home, right? Yo, hey man, you a little late, bro. This is my house now. What? Can you imagine? Can you imagine not paying your cousin back? Right, you borrow like $300 from him, and then now he's like, all right, now you don't live here. Like that's the arrangement we have with banks, because banks are the enforcer. And here's the thing: is things can only get big if you have people willing to be an asshole, but it has a cost.
It does, a huge cost.
A huge cost. Are things more laid back in Liberia?
Yeah, very, very, very much laid back. It's laid back in the sense of like, because again, you have like that family culture there. So like, you always know somebody there is gonna make food. You're not. I mean, you can still starve out there, but like 9 times out of 10, you have family that y'all gonna come together during the rough times and like stick together. Even though y'all might have some grievances, I'm talking about like some serious grievances. Like there's been times where I stayed over there and there's somebody in the house that everyone knows him to steal. Like he actively steals. They're like, oh, don't put your stuff out there. Why not? Oh yeah, because he steals. I'm like, well, why is he living here? It's been a week. Why is he still here? Like, you know what I mean? But I come from my American mind, and they're just like, oh yeah, because he's so and so son, so this and that. But he actively steals. Like he is a stealer. Like if you put your
swiper,
everyone knows, and it's audibly saying while it's there, like, all right, if you leave your stuff here, he will steal it, and he will do it, and that's how he's known. He's like, oh, he's the thief, and it's like, oh, he just staying here. Yeah, he's staying here. And he's eating the food and this and that. And you're like, oh, okay. He's the guy who steals. And he knows. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy who steals. And I'm like, oh, all right, you're the guy who steals. But it is.
That's so, wait, hold on. That's just so, like, that's a full blown fist fight here,
bro. It's so weird. Even as I'm talking about, I'm realizing how crazy it is because, like, bro, there's people like in like especially like African West African culture and stuff. Like there's people that done things that are like I'm talking about like you should cut this person off of life, not off of life, but like cut them away from your life. You know what I mean? And but they're still in like family parties and like still around and stuff. And it's just like family trumps everything. Like to the point that it gets kind of crazy, especially when you're born here in America, because you so is everything's so individualistic. So and then if somebody wrongs you, you're kind of like, no, well, fuck you. I'm not gonna talk to you no more. Whereas like in my culture or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, just don't talk to this person for a little bit, or don't worry about it. Kind of gloss over. You're like, no, this person like harmed this other person. But yeah, all right, they're gonna be at so and so birthday party. You be like, all right, I guess. So it is laid back, but too laid back in certain ways. I would say capitalism still has its grip in my country because I mean it basically I won't say it's an American colony. America basically colonized it via like Firestone, Firestone Rubber Company and some other things. But yeah, capitalism is still there. I mean, especially when when the country is relying on loans and things for its development, and you're kind of connected to the world, capitalism is going to come along with it, right? Here's a loan. You pay me back this loan or something like that. And then, funny thing about capitalism is that they know how to assess if this loan is going to be paid. So, like, the collateral may be worth more than what you paid back. So, all right, I'll give you this loan for this road development. Make sure you pay back this money in so and so time in 3 to 5 years. All right, cool, cool, cool. They know it's a corrupt government. They ain't gonna pay that shit back. But the collateral is the land. So they're like, yeah, please don't pay me back. I'll own your land.
Yep, China.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So like that's capitalism coming in, but it's coming in the form of like help, I guess. But then obviously you have corruption and all that stuff that's happening. So like I don't know if any of these countries, man, can stay away from capitalism in its entirety.
Yeah, man. It's that whole exchange of the collateral thing. It like really, I'm like, because like, what are you supposed to do? I also think about this. Do you think it's hard for not just African countries, but like equatorial countries, like places where like family trumps everything, community trumps everything, to ask for things like taxes? Because it's like, yo, like you trying to be cool with a motherfucker. Like I don't even enforce rules like a you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like someone got to enforce the rules, and like a lot of times if you're like, people have legitimate reasons, and you're like, well, hey, all right, and then it just kind of falls to the wayside, and then all of a sudden it just you're like, oh fuck, like we didn't like.
Yeah, taxes is one. I think I mean, taxes existed to some degree. It just wasn't maybe formalized or structured in this particular bureaucratic way.
Yeah.
So like, say, back in my country or something, like whenever you have like the season, like you plant all the the seeds or whatever, and then like there's a harvest time, and then whatever food you're not able to finish, you usually give to like the neighboring village or something like that. So you have like this not communication, but like this connection of like, all right, if you have too much food, we'll give you some, and vice versa. You can come on this side, we'll feed you. So it's kind of like this mutual thing or whatever. But you kind of had to pull your own weight, kind of, i.e., but that weight was also thing you needed that to survive as well. So it's kind of like this mutual thing, like where it's kind of like, all right, like, yo, we got all this food, we don't need all of it, we already ate, like, so we ain't gonna waste it. We'll give it to you. And they're like, all right, thank you for giving it to me. Yeah, we'll give it to you. And then you start extending that network to other people and stuff like that. Whereas like taxes and stuff like that, I mean, you need taxes to some degree. If you're going to have a lot of people in one place, and no one's paying taxes, you're going to eventually reach that tragedy of the commons where like someone's going to abuse whatever limited resources in that area, and then no one eats. So you kind of have to have this continual like input for the better of all, not the better of all, but it's inputs for this common good everyone's relying on, i.e., wherever you living, the food, the protection, even, right? So I guess taxes have always been around to some degree. I think it's like the safest way, because sometimes taxes be like, yo, that's your firstborn son. All right, cool. We need him from the army. That's the tax.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Hey, y'all need to have a family because we about to fight a war. Like,
yep. It's crazy to think about. It's like weirdly violence is is like the number one currency. Like I remember telling my dad, I was like, "Yo, why don't we just take our defense budget and like use it for all these other things?" And he's like, "Because you, a, we- a our defense budget is what makes money worth things." He said,
Mm.
"You know, the entire underpinning of all commerce is protected by a monopoly on violence, right?
Wow.
Like if you don't have a monopoly on violence, people can't actually have commerce." And this actually like he used to say this. He said nations behave more like wild beasts than civilized man. So there's all this posturing that they do with America now. Like, people can take this with whatever way they want.
Mm-hmm.
He's like there something would fill that vacuum. So if America's not spending $800 billion on its weapons and military, etc., China or Russia would occupy that space. And so then you have to ask yourself, well, what nation do you want occupying the space that makes everybody else subservient through military power? Because economic power can only be enforced if you have a military means of backing it up.
That's a good, yeah. I mean, because even this resource he's trying to extract, I mean, naturally, there's going to be somebody to contest that, like demand, and naturally, like people, again, this back to sizing up. Like, you're going to be like, yo, physically, who is this person? And then, like, if you physically are a person that look like you can inflict violence that can harm somebody, but all right, cool, like yo, I ain't got, yeah, take whatever And by the way, like they got some other bigger motherfuckers. Can you protect me against some people?
Yep, that's what like the mafia facilitated, right? That's what a lot of organized crime like really like feeds off of, is the fact that like they act as like a governing body in certain neighborhoods that people can rely on and get protection and get advantages. And like if you are, here's the thing in life, if you're friends with the person who is the most intimidating, you have value in and of yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's a valuable commodity even in subtext. And so it's very important for, I think people need to always assess all the different types of violence that someone can enact upon them, right? And one of the reasons why actually like, so height is very like a sexually selected thing for women select men based on height. That's pretty common knowledge. But voice actually is actually even more important than height to some degree.
Wow.
And part of that is because you are able, as we are a social species, probably able to influence. So if you're a big guy and you kill somebody, you can now like I've been in rooms where I'm like, oh, this dude is big enough to actually kill me.
Yeah, we all have, yeah.
But he would have a fucking problem because I have lots of friends. So like that, the thing is being socially like being really good socially is actually more of an advantage than even having height,
right?
Because then you're able to. I mean, the ceiling of it is like we've seen Hitler, right? You see Trump, you see Obama. The ceiling of being able to have charisma and speak is also like the ceiling on that's fucking so disgustingly high.
Oh my god, very high
In a way that height literally can't be in that same way.
Right.
Like you even think of the most famous basketball player of all time. Like now, undoubtedly Michael Jordan is tall, but he's not a tallish basketball player, right? Like that's someone like Shaq or Shaquille. But the thing is Jordan has charisma, right? And or you even take Martin Luther King.
Right.
Martin Luther King's 5'7", right? And literally changed the fabric of American culture.
Completely.
Right? And let's say he had like a 20 to 30% worse voice. Is he able to effectuate that kind of change?
Yeah. That's a I never really thought about the voice one being like, but that makes sense.
Right. If you sounded like Robert Kennedy Jr., have you seen like the new clips of
Nah.
So he has like a neurological disease that's like messed with his voice, and it's like it's difficult for me as a listener not only to listen and it to think that he's confident.
Ooh.
Right, it's kind of like there's an inability. That's why when depending on the circumstance, like I love hanging out with comedians because I can just let go and whatever. But there are tons of other situations where I'm like really like cognizant of how I sound because has such a drastic impact on who someone will allow you to be.
Yeah. Yeah, back to this heuristics of like who
Yeah.
you are. So yeah, voice, height is a thing. Damn, it's like 5, 6 layers to that shit, man.
I mean, Oprah did the voice for her life, and people did not like it. They wanted it to be an English speaking or like a English accent having a white man, like because
Right.
they, it's not even. Oprah has a really great voice. Obviously, she's a talk show host. Like,
Yeah, right.
the most successful one ever, right? But there is something about taking that voice and putting it into an academic setting where there was a lot of restriction, and she produced the stuff, but people did not want to buy into the heuristics of what that implied, right? And so it's just it's very interesting on what the story of the sound of your voice is instructing people about how they should perceive you.
Right. That is. I wonder. Well, I mean, they got a lot of reasons why, probably. I mean, to what you pointed out in terms of like why these heuristics are important and why it's hard to change those heuristic and what they attribute themselves to in terms of like, okay, you have a deep voice, this equals you're a tough person. If you have like a feminine voice, this equals like maybe you're not as tough, and like how that plays around. But I also think too, like, it matters like the context in which it's happening. To your point, it was like in that documentary or the thing you're talking about, right? But like say you're in America, you can have a squeaky voice and be fine. You have a squeaky voice in other places in the country, they're like, well, I gotta rob you, right? They're like, yeah, they're like, no, I gotta rob you. But but yeah, man. So you doing a lot of things. I know you got a lot of things coming up. So I don't know if you want to plug in some of your things that you.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you.
Yes, no problem, man.
So I have a comedy club called the Sunflower Arcade Lounge. We have shows many days a week. So if you stop by, there's likely a show. Oh, yeah. And so come by. And then also got a lot of other big things, but I can't talk about them because some of them are under an alias. So, yeah. And then I have my company, Motivee, but you'll be seeing that some other time.
Nice, man. Always a deep conversation,
dude.
With you,
this
man.
was fantastic, man.
Yeah,
I
every
appreciate
time,
you,
man. Like I really enjoy talking with you, man. And you definitely come from an interesting third culture environment, I would say.
Dude, these conversations always been great, man. When you brought over that scotch the other day, that shit was. That shit was peak, bro. I was like, man, this is a moment.
We gotta do another one, man. Yeah, bro, I get the same scotch and everything.
Dude, like it's still sitting in my crib. I was like, man, like it was one of those things where it's like I think people need to really just cherish. Like if you're gonna come home and put on a program, just like see whether or not a friend can come out and hang out. Because it's just like, dude, like what we're still talking about a night that we just hung out.
Yeah.
Right. Where we could have just watched a show that we'd never reference again. I've watched everything I wanted to watch. So.
Yeah, but that conversation was that was a good conversation.
Dude, I like that Liberia thing, bro. Like where you're talking about like being stranded in the middle of the V and I talked about that again. I was like, yo, hey, and like just everybody being so chill.
Yeah,
I was just like, man, that's so intense because I know that I'm aware too of all the ways that this could easily be a fucking terrible situation.
Right. We could have got robbed easy, you know? Like I'm looking, I'm all like, "Oh, what's going on?" My eyes all shifting around. Like, oh, this person's not from here. And he's in the darkness. He doesn't know where he's at.
Dude, like when you said that there aren't even like street lights and shit, bro. I was like, "Bro, what?"
Your eyes can adjust to pure darkness, bro. It can happen cuz like, bro, I just saw like people walking in and out of my vision. I was like, "Who is that?" Bro, it was a lot of people out in like pure darkness. So I'm just like, "Yo, where are these people going, yo?" No. Like, I don't see places to go.
That's so what?
Yeah, people just going, bro. There's like dogs walking. I'm just like, yo, there's loose dogs. Who dog is this? It's just going. It just life is happening. I'm just like, what's happening? What's happening? Everyone's like, well, no, and there's no Ubers here. There's all the mechanics are sleeping right now, and maybe we call another taxi. I don't know. Maybe I have enough minutes on my phone to call. I'm like, maybe you might have enough minutes. Jesus, but that's a Patreon, not Patreon. It's a secret episode soon. I'll talk about it.
Put that shit behind a paywall.
There you go. Yeah, I'll make you motherfuckers pay.